Here's what nobody expected. 6 months ago, Washington was gearing up for a major fight with New Delhi. Trade wars were being planned. Tough sanctions were on the table. The talk coming from Trump's team was hard and direct. India had to pick America's side or get left behind. It looked like a showdown was coming. But look at what's happening now. The same people who were planning to punish India are suddenly talking about working together. Big business deals are being discussed. And after months of having no top diplomat in India, Washington just rushed to send someone important to New Delhi. This isn't small changes. This is a complete flip in strategy. So what made this happen? What forced America's leaders to drop their tough approach and try friendship instead? Here's the interesting part. India didn't change anything. New Delhi is still buying cheap energy from Russia, still blocking American goods with high taxes, still playing all sides instead of joining any team. India's game plan stayed exactly the same. The change came from Washington, not New Delhi. And when the world's strongest country changes direction this fast, it's not because they suddenly got nice. It's because they realized their first plan was failing badly, and that failure was creating bigger problems than they expected. This is what we're digging into today. Why America changed its mind first, why India has more power than people think, and why this shift could change how the whole world works. Let's go back to how this started. When Trump came back to power, everyone knew what was coming. America First was back in full force. For countries like India, that meant one thing: do what we say or pay the price. And the price started coming right away. New taxes on Indian goods shipped to America. We're talking 25% extra costs on steel, clothes, and chemicals. For Indian companies, this was devastating. Profits wiped out overnight. Workers losing jobs. Entire industries suddenly couldn't compete in America's market anymore. But that was just the beginning. Then came the real attack, going after India's oil deals. Another 25% tax on Russian oil that India was buying. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about basic survival. India has to buy most of its oil from other countries. Russian oil selling cheap because of the war was keeping gas prices low for over 1 billion people. Cut that off and everything gets expensive fast. Trump's thinking was simple. Stop buying Russian oil. Stop helping Moscow make money. Join our side in this fight. But for India, this felt like being told to hurt their own people for someone else's war. Why should regular Indians pay more for gas just to make Washington happy? And here's where things got really messy. While America was threatening India, they didn't even have anyone important there to talk. No ambassador for months. No senior diplomat to explain what was happening or try to work things out. Think about that. You're starting a trade war with one of the biggest countries in the world, but you won't even put someone there to manage the relationship. While America was missing in action, other countries jumped in fast. China sent their top people to New Delhi for important meetings. Russia kept making energy deals with India. Big regional summits got planned with India sitting next to China and Russia, not America. While Washington was absent, everyone else was present and active. The real mistake wasn't the taxes or the threats. The real mistake was thinking India would just give up, that economic pressure would make them do what America wanted, that New Delhi had no choice but to bend to Washington's will, but that thinking was completely wrong. Then everything changed, not slowly, but almost overnight. The harsh talk from Washington got softer. The threats turned into offers to negotiate. The demands became requests for cooperation. What happened? Several things came together at once. First, Trump met Putin in Alaska, a shocking summit that surprised America's allies in Europe and created waves throughout Washington's foreign policy world. But here's the key. After that meeting, America seemed to ease up on India, like they realized they couldn't fight everyone at the same time. Second, and this was crucial, India didn't break. After months of economic pressure, New Delhi stood firm, still buying Russian oil, still protecting their own companies, still refusing to pick sides, and they weren't quiet about it. They were loud and confident. This sent a clear message to Washington. India wasn't going to be bullied. Third, other powers started moving in. China's foreign minister visited New Delhi for major talks. Russia announced new energy partnerships with India. Regional meetings were being planned where India would sit with China and Russia, leaving America out. Every day America stayed absent was a day their competitors gained ground. The language from Washington started changing. No more angry talk about India's unfair trade practices. Instead, words about working together and finding solutions. That's government speak for we need a new approach because this one isn't working. Then came the biggest signal, rushing to appoint an ambassador to India. And not just anyone. Sergio Gore, one of Trump's closest advisors, someone with direct access to the president. That's not routine diplomacy, that's crisis management. Why the sudden shift? Because staying tough was becoming dangerous. Every day without proper representation in New Delhi was a day China and Russia got stronger there. Every harsh statement pushed India further away. And in today's world, losing India doesn't just mean losing one relationship, it means losing your entire strategy to balance China. Look at the map. America's plan to contain China needs partners all across Asia. Japan and Australia are locked in, but they're far from where the action is. India sits right in the middle of the Indian Ocean, controlling the sea routes that carry half the world's trade. Without India, the whole plan falls apart. Washington finally figured out what should have been obvious from the start. You can't fight China without India on your side, and you can't get India on your side by threatening them. Here's what makes this story really fascinating. India has way more power in this game than most people realize. And right now, that power is at its peak. Think about it. Washington is changing its approach not because it wants to, but because it has to. China is getting stronger every day. Russia refuses to back down. Europe is divided and distracted. And sitting in the middle of all this chaos is India, the world's fastest growing major economy, the most people of any country, and a democracy that can talk to everyone without being owned by anyone. That's real leverage. Let's break down why India holds so many cards right now. First, geography. India sits at the center of the Indian Ocean, where the most important trade routes in the world pass through. If you want to move goods between Asia, Europe, and Africa, you go through waters near India. That gives New Delhi massive strategic value that can't be replaced. Second, markets. American companies are desperate to find new customers beyond their own saturated markets. Where do they want to go? India, with its growing middle class that could hit 500 million people in just a few years. Tech companies, retailers, defense contractors, everyone wants access to India's market. Third, energy. India is one of the world's biggest energy buyers. Right now they're buying cheap Russian oil, but they could just as easily buy American oil and gas. That's a bargaining chip worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Fourth, military position. America's entire strategy to contain China depends on having strong partners across Asia. Without India, that strategy doesn't work. India's navy controls the Indian Ocean. India's military can pressure China from the south, while America pressures from the east. Without that cooperation, China has a much easier path to domination. Fifth, diplomatic reach. India is the only major power that can sit with America, Japan, and Australia in one meeting, then turn around and meet with China and Russia in another. No other country has that range. That makes India a bridge between different worlds, and in a divided world, bridges are incredibly valuable. So what does this mean practically? It means India shouldn't treat Trump's nicer tone as a favor. It's not charity, it's recognition. Recognition that India is too important to lose. This is the moment for New Delhi to push for real benefits, lower tariffs on Indian goods, better technology sharing deals, more American investment, a partnership where India's independence gets respected. But here's where it gets really interesting. India isn't just sitting back and waiting for America to make offers. They're actively using this moment to strengthen their position even more. India just announced major deals with multiple countries at once, infrastructure projects with Japan, energy partnerships with the Middle East, technology agreements with Europe. They're diversifying their partnerships while America is trying to win them back. The timing isn't accidental. Every deal India announces sends a message to Washington. We have options, so if you want our partnership, you better make it worth our while. Take defense. For years, America tried to sell India weapons while keeping the best technology to themselves. Now India is saying, if you want us to buy your weapons instead of Russian ones, we need full technology transfer. That's negotiation, not submission. And that's what's driving this shift in Washington's approach. Because here's the truth that Washington is finally understanding. America needs India just as much, maybe more, than India needs America. And for the first time in decades, Washington is showing they know it. Let's talk numbers. India is now the world's fifth largest economy, growing faster than any other major country. By 2027, it will likely be third largest, bigger than Japan and Germany. Economic size translates into political influence. But here's what caught America's attention. India's growth isn't dependent on America anymore. 20 years ago, cutting off trade would have hurt India badly. Today, India has so many other partners that losing America would be painful, but not devastating. China is India's biggest trading partner. Europe buys massive amounts of Indian goods. The Middle East provides energy. India built a network that doesn't revolve around America. Meanwhile, American companies are desperate to access India's market. Apple, Google, Amazon, Walmart, they're all betting big on India's growth. When these companies push for better relations, that changes Washington's political calculation fast. Here's something important. India watched how China handled American pressure and learned key lessons. When America pressured China with trade wars, China didn't back down. They absorbed the hits, diversified, and kept growing. Eventually, America had to work with China because pressure wasn't working. India used the same playbook. Absorb pressure, build alternatives, make yourself too important to isolate. But India had advantages. It's a democracy with cultural ties to the West, and it's not trying to replace America globally, just demanding equal treatment. America's plan to contain China depends on strong military partners across Asia. India is crucial to that plan. China's expanding its navy and building bases across the South China Sea and Indian Ocean. America needs local partners to counter this. Japan helps in the north, Australia in the south, but India controls the central Indian Ocean where crucial trade routes pass. When Trump's team was pressuring India on trade, they forgot this military reality. But when China expanded its naval presence and India talked about deeper cooperation with Russia, Pentagon alarm bells went off. Military planners told the White House, we need India more than we need to win trade arguments. That shifted everything. Military concerns trump economic ones in Washington. So where does this leave us? Let's be clear about what's really happening here. This isn't just about Trump being nicer to India. This is about America recognizing that the old playbook, pressure, threaten, demand compliance, doesn't work with India anymore. India has reached a point where it can say no, where it can absorb pressure and keep pursuing its own path, where it has enough options that no single country can force it into line. That's a fundamental shift in global power dynamics. For America, this means learning to treat India as an equal partner, not a junior ally. No more ultimatums, no more you're either with us or against us. Instead, it's about finding areas where both countries benefit while accepting that they won't agree on everything. For India, this is validation of their strategy. Multi-alignment works. Playing all sides while serving your own interests works. Refusing to be anyone's junior partner works. The pressure from Washington didn't break India. It made India stronger and more confident. But let's not mistake this for a permanent peace. Trump's softer tone is tactical, not emotional. If India pushes too hard or gets too close to China and Russia, the pressure will come back. And if America finds other ways to contain China without India, their approach could change again. The key for India is to use this moment wisely. Lock in long-term benefits while the window is open, get better trade deals, secure technology transfers, build economic partnerships that outlast political changes, turn America's current need for India into permanent advantages. But here's what makes this moment particularly important. This isn't just about dealing with America. This is about establishing India as a true global power, one that gets consulted, not commanded. Think about what this means for other countries watching. If India can resist American pressure and force Washington to change its approach, that sends a message. You don't have to accept whatever America offers. You can negotiate for better terms if you're strong enough. Other countries are taking notes. Brazil is watching. Indonesia is watching. Turkey is watching. They're seeing that India's approach works, and they're starting to adopt similar strategies. That could change how international relations work. Instead of a world divided into competing camps, we might see a world of independent players who cooperate on some issues and compete on others. Because windows like this don't stay open forever. China is watching closely, looking for any sign that India might move closer to America. Russia is doing the same, worried about losing their energy customer. Both would love to see this US-India rapprochement fail. That's why Trump's timing matters. Appointing an ambassador now, just weeks before major regional summits where India will sit with China and Russia, is a clear signal America is back in the game, but this time they're playing by different rules. Rules where India gets treated as an equal, not a subordinate. So when people ask if Trump is really softening his stance toward India, the answer is yes, but not because he wants to, because he has to, because India has reached a point where PR assure doesn't work anymore, where threats push them away instead of bringing them closer, where America needs India more than India needs America. That's the new reality. And it changes everything about how these two countries will deal with each other going forward. India isn't asking for permission anymore. They're setting terms. And for the first time, America is listening. The question now is whether both sides can turn this tactical shift into a strategic partnership, one where India maintains its independence while America gets the ally it needs to balance China. If they can pull that off, it reshapes the entire balance of power in Asia. If they can't, we're back to confrontation, but this time with India holding even more cards. That's the story behind Trump's softer tone. It's not about friendship, it's about power. And right now, India has more of it than anyone expected.